Okay. If you notice, it looked like I tried to do some live streams earlier. Actually, I was trying to figure out how to make my GoPro, the camera for because as you can see, it's really hard to see the board. Well, I found these cords that connect this to the HDMI connector on the laptop, right? Okay, so that makes sense. So I get this side to this side. Now I need to figure out, I guess, which is really weird because it already has a USB port on it, but this video doesn't stream through that. Now I have to actually use this and then buy another $110 piece to go from this cord back into the USB. It's crazy. Well, it's going to be a while before I have that, so I'm just going to have to deal with what I have. 110 $110 ain't my price range right now, so I have to use this petty little camera on here and scare everybody to death with my view or with talking about the pentagram, because I guarantee you that there will be people who will see this and just automatically assume, oh my goodness, Greg is worshiping the devil. He drew a pentagram. And I promise you, if you are new to this and you have not seen people's reactions, that is the reaction you will get. Why? Well, it's programmed in our head. So why do people think that the pentagram is automatically evil? Well, this is my opinion, is that the knowledge in it is actually about God. And so if the devil or the evil or forces of evil or whatever can get you away from it and think that it's evil, you'll never learn about God. You see? So there's a whole lot of God in geometry. And I wrote these numbers on the board because they're all related to each other, for one. They're in virtually every decode we do. And if we understand the relationships better, we'll understand God better, we'll understand our decodes better, we'll understand how nefarious forces, if you will, whether they be actual Freemasons or Satanists using this knowledge contrary to Freemasonry. I don't really know exactly who's doing it. We say Freemasons, but sort of in my head, at least, we're saying, since we, didn't actually see somebody say they were a Freemason and actually do these false flag shootings, these ritual killings. For all I know, it could possibly be people that just understand this knowledge sort of like a Freemason would if they knew anything. The vast majority of them don't know anything. I mean, from what I understand, most people don't get past the first 3 levels, and you don't learn that much in the first 3 levels. So it could just be that they're actually just people that use this knowledge for evil, but they're not actually Freemasons. I don't really know. I think like the Fraternal Order of Police must have a bad element in it somewhere, because I've already seen firsthand some terrible things come out of that organization. At least I feel strongly confident that it comes from them. But then, I still think it might be some Freemasons, because look, when I'm doing the Jalea Davis decode, the Jalea Davis was the 20-year-old girl that was murdered in our town. Well, she was murdered just about a mile from a grotto, okay? It's called Ben Bay Grotto. And wouldn't you know it, Ben Bay was a historical person that lived at the time of George Washington. And turns out that Ben Bay was born on 11/9, which is the same time as the same date as the murder. So, and that is a Freemason group. So they may be actual Freemasons that are. You got to wonder. You got to wonder about groups that call their leaders worshipful masters. That concerns me a whole lot. How does your thinking get to where you call another person a worshipful master? That to me sounds satanic. It sounds evil, doesn't it? It's just me. But I guarantee, actually, I got to go to you now. Yeah, devil's got to go to you, right? So somebody is going to see the pentagram. I purposely displayed it just because I know people are going to do this. Okay, you're going to see this guy with a goatee. One person already said I was a Freemason once on YouTube, which I thought pretty funny. They said they saw the look on my face, and I was definitely a Freemason. So if you're watching, all right, well, so yeah, so you see the goatee and the pentagram. Obviously, I must be a devil worshiper, right? Gotta be. So, anyway, let's see, how are these numbers related? Well, some of them are pretty darn obvious, right? 27 is half of 54. These just keep doubling, right? This way. And most of them are related to the pentagram in one way or another. I mean, 108 is some of the angles of the pentagram. Okay, 72 doubled is 144. 144 doubled is 288. 108 doubled is 216. And if you drew a circle around this, the top of this would be 360. These are the degrees. If you measure the degrees and you know it's not freehand and you drew it correctly, well, then the angles would come out to 72 degrees, 144, 216, 288, 366. All these numbers are so important. And my knowledge has grown exponentially. Okay, I discovered gematria by coming across Zach Hubbard's videos back in November. That's how new I am to this, okay? But I have an advantage that I have a massive amount of time to study. Massive amount of time. Even at work, because like literally I am just kind of able to bring my laptop and study while I'm at work. So I have just 10, 11 hours a day to study, okay? And I have just collected hundreds and hundreds of pages of data. Learning, and then I learned about Marty Leeds and got involved with mathematics of the Las Vegas shooting with Jonathan. I don't, you never told me how you pronounce your last name, Bazier or Bazier. I'm sorry, buddy, but you still haven't told me. So anyway, but he has taught me a lot as well. And being on that page on Facebook has people contribute more and more information, and man, we just keep growing and growing and growing and learning. But one thing about, I have this personality trait called INTJ. If you ever go take the Myers-Briggs personality test, I have a playlist on where I do some INTJ videos. Check that out sometime if you're interested in that kind of thing. Because INTJ is one thing we want to do is we want to spiderweb all of our knowledge out to where we connect everything together. Okay, so we have to know the entire universe. So it can't just be little bits and pieces of it. Everything is connected to everything else. So what helps me is when I can sum as much information in a small place as possible, and it helps me get a big picture view of how everything works and spider webs to each other. Okay, and so when I write things out like this, maybe some of you this will help because you can see it all in one place. Because what I do is when I hear Zach Hubbard or Marty Leeds or whoever talk, I get bits and pieces of it. It took me a while to put it all together and make sense of it all, you see. So if I were you, I would maybe pause this and do what I do a lot of times. Hit your snipping app if you have Windows 10 and clip this picture, and keep it in a folder. I got a folder of sacred math here on my computer, and it is growing rapidly. Okay, because you're gonna probably refer to this a lot, and the next false flag shooting that happens, I promise you, is going to have these numbers in it, at least some of them. And so we're gonna try to go. I'm in no hurry. My wife's actually sick as a dog and puking downstairs. It's awful. So stomach virus. I'm gonna try to camp out up here, but she might holler and say she needs something. I don't know. But other than that, I got all night, so I am not in any hurry. Okay, so if I bored you already, you can just kind of fast forward or something and get to where I'm actually talking about something intelligent. So, but I think that'll start right now. So let's go ahead and start with 27. Why is 27 important? Well, this is why right here. Because if you open up the gematrinator.com okay, in your browser. And you go to Tools and open up the calculator and open up the septenary cipher. Sept means 7. And you type in the name of Jesus right here. You will see that the numbers under the name of Jesus are 45666. So right there, we've seen we're going to see how this relates here in a little bit in a lot of different ways. 666 is not evil. It's literally encoded in the name of Jesus. Just like this whole pentagram thing is not evil. All right. Well, when you add these numbers together, 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 27. Okay. So we're going to start with Jesus at the very beginning of this, and we're going to see him all through here. Okay. Jesus said, I am Alpha and Omega. So if you take the angle of the pentagram, which is also one of these numbers double, okay, and you put Alpha and Omega, okay, in the Greek cipher, you have 1 and 800. These are just the same numbers. Anagram moved around a little bit, is the 1 to 800, okay? And that's what 108 is. It's the same thing, okay? So Jesus is already talked about as an angle in the pentagram. Hey, I didn't make this up, man. So if you don't believe me, well, it's there. How many books are in the New Testament, by the way? 27. Coincidence? No. No, not a coincidence. Okay, so Jesus is 27. All right. And I'll go ahead and tell you what the septenary cipher is in case you're new to this. Okay, if you open up gematria, it'll give you this cipher underneath it, so it's easy. It's easier for you to see it because without having a GoPro or some kind of software I don't have yet, I can't flip over to it. I don't know how other people do it. So if one of you know and you want to tell me, get with me. PM me on Facebook there and definitely give me information because I would love to update some of this stuff and figure out how some of these guys are flipping and from videos to you can show the screen on the computer and then come back and see you and see this. And I don't know how they do it. I am not a software genius or anything like that. So I'm not definitely not a computer nerd. So, but I would like to learn it. So not that I mind being a computer nerd. I've never had access to the information. So Jesus is 27. There's 27 books in the New Testament. And 27, of course, is just the opposite of 72. Now, I've already done loads of videos about 27 and what it means. Well, those are the primary numbers in pi. The most common used approximation of pi is 22 divided by 7. Okay, the septenary cipher, the 7 cipher. And the septenary cipher, I was going to tell you and I got distracted. The septenary cipher is based on the 7 days of the creation week. It's the first week in Genesis. So Genesis chapter 1 is literally explaining to you to use this cipher to interpret the rest of the Torah. Okay? It's also used in the rest of the Bible as well, but especially in the Torah. So the Torah is the first 5 books. Okay? So now 22 divided by 7. And you use the septenary cipher, which would be like, okay, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 5, 6, 7. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and then it goes back down and it counts down, okay? Then it goes back up again. And then it goes back down again, okay? So, and then it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way up to Z, okay? So that you have 26 letters, but only 7 numbers being used. So you might see the same numbers being used for different letters, and that's why. Okay. If you didn't understand that, like I said, go back to gematria.com, open up your septenary cipher, and it'll be plain as day when it's right in front of your face, okay? So 27, using the septenary cipher, all right? And we're using these, 22 divided by 7 is pi, okay? Pretty simple. Good start to it. But it's also pretty much the numbers that are in E. E is 178, I think. Unless I got the 7 and the 1 backward. I think that's right. Well, E is growth over time, okay? And E is very much like the rule of 72, which when I was selling insurance, the rule of 72 says if you take 72 and you divide it by your interest rate, it tells you how many years it takes for your money to double. It's a real formula. I mean, they use it in the insurance industry and in investments and all this kind of stuff so that you know how long it takes when you invest your money to know how it doubles. Well, it's related to E, and it's basically these same numbers, 2 and 7, and 22 divided by 7 for pi. So E is in there along with it. So it's no coincidence then that when you open up your gematria calculator and you use the 4 base ciphers that are already there, okay, and this is why you can't just get stuck. And I love Marty Leeds and everything, but yeah, the other ciphers are important because they just confirm some of this information in other ways, okay, and are very much used today. So even though the septenary cipher is intrinsic in the Bible, well, the other ones are being used because we all speak English today, and that's the primary language of the earth, and that's what people that code these mysteries and a lot of these ritual killings and things, they use the septenary cipher to code a lot of important information, but they also use a lot of the other ciphers too. Well, so anyway, so ritual, if you add up, the word ritual equals 27. Okay? And I don't ever remember exactly which cipher, but so no coincidence there. And ritual comes from the word rite, Okay, so now, I said the word right. So now all the people think I have a goatee and I'm studying a pentagram here and I'm of the devil. Uh-oh, I'm telling you about rights, right? Rights, right? So, all right. So 27. Let's go back to Jesus Christ here for a minute. Okay, we had Jesus. We have Christ, like we said, 4, 5, 6, 6, 6, 365, 365 days a year, 5, 6, 7. Not a coincidence. Somebody thought his name through very carefully when they wrote it out like this, okay? It's not a coincidence. Well, add these numbers up. It's 27. Add these numbers up, and it's 32. Now, when you multiply these together, it equals 864. Where do you see that up here? Okay. So we've already got a connection with Jesus and 27 from the beginning to the end of this numerical system. Okay. And all these numbers are not only in the pentagram in some way or fashion, either doubled in there or whatever, but they're also measurements of the heavenly bodies. Okay. This 864, when the prophet in the Bible, this is Bible knowledge, so don't call me a heretic or you're going to have to call the prophet a heretic, that said it in the last book of the Old Testament, Malachi. Well, Malachi called Jesus the Son S-U-N of righteousness. That's not a mistake. He's talking about the coming Messiah, and he called him the S-U-N of righteousness. Okay? Well, that's because Jesus codes with the Son. This is the given diameter of the sun, 864,000 miles diameter. Coincidence? Are you crazy? No, it's not a coincidence. It's also, there's 86,400 seconds in a day. You see what I'm saying? So Jesus, from here to here, multiplied across, gives you both answers. Come on. Oh, okay, so we see that one and that one. He's also right in the middle of it, okay? I had a bigger board, but I don't, because I'm a brokey broke. Okay. Now, we saw Jesus Christ is 27 and 32. So let's just start at the 27 and 32 so we write it all back out again. Okay. Now, if you write out the words, yes, I did get this from Marty Lee, but I ain't making no money off of this, folks. Okay, so if I can spread the knowledge and help you understand it, I'm just furthering his cause. Okay, except for the flat Earth part. I don't believe in flat Earth. So he can call me a heretic if he wants, whatever. I don't care. Okay, so 27 and 32. Well, each one of those letters has a value as well, okay? And so what are those numbers? They are, and this is, of course, using the septenary cipher, the one in the Bible. Okay? We're talking about Jesus here, so of course we're going to use the Bible cipher. Okay? This makes sense, right? Well, each one of these has a number, 7, 4, 5, 1, 7, 2, 6, 5, 5, 5, 1, 7, 6, 5, 5, 7, 2, 7, 4, 2. Okay. Well, when you add all these numbers up, you know 48, and you add all these numbers up, you know 45. Then you can multiply those numbers, and you end up with 216. Well, actually, it's got a 0 on it. But the thing to know about numerology is this rule called Rule of Colel. You can take off a number, and it essentially doesn't change the value because you're not building a building, okay? This is not exoteric math. This is esoteric math. You're creating a mental construct, okay? The idea is to allude to something, okay? It's patterns. And patterns create a picture, okay? You're not physically building something, okay? So it doesn't have to be the same kind of math, okay? So you can take off the 0. So 2160. And where is that? Right here in our number line. So we saw Jesus here. We saw him here. And now we're seeing him right here. And we saw him right here in the Alpha and Omega. Okay. Is there anywhere else we might see Jesus on this number line? Where? There is. There is indeed. And I will find it here in just a second. Because I have so many notes that sometimes it is hard. There it is. Okay. Hard to keep my notes straight. All right, back to Jesus again. So we got the 4, 5, 6, 6, 6. But this time, instead of adding the numbers, you're going to multiply these numbers. 4 times 5 times 6 times 6 times 6 equals 4,320. And now we've just connected them right here as well. Isn't that something? And of course, how do you connect it here? Well, I mean, yeah, it's double, okay? Not that hard to see. And you want to know how the 666 fits in? Well, this is the concept of mirroring. You take 432 and you mirror it, 234, add them together, and it's 666. Now, if you take, let's see, 666, and I think it's divided by 144 equals pi, I think. Is that right? Or it equals 216, maybe. Yeah, that sounds more right. Yeah, 666 divided by 144 is 216. I have it wrote down. It's just I have so many notes. It's right here in front of me. Yeah, one of these days I will organize all this better, but you wouldn't believe how many times I've rewritten all this stuff already. So, but that's how I've memorized a lot of it. You just can't memorize anything. So there it is, 144,000 divided by 666 equals 216. So if you want to add this number into the equation, so there it is, 144,000, like the 144,000 revelations, and divided by 216 here. I'm sorry, that's the answer. Divided by 666 equals 216. So now you might start to think to yourself at this point, oh, well, this all sounds familiar. This comes from Revelations now. So Revelations, when it's giving you this riddle, talking about all this. If you don't understand that, you can't understand Revelation. I can't believe how many lectures on Revelation that I've heard over the years in church, and what none of them right. It just aren't, because they didn't allude to any of this. So what do they think they know? They really don't know. Okay, and it's unfortunate. They spent a whole lot of time just analyzing the fool out of this information and never telling us what any of it actually means. It's just true. I mean, I had the charge drawn out when I was 14 years old. I was preaching in church the revelation, what it meant, according to what I'd studied. Wasn't none of it right, but I thought it was. It's mainstream, and if I went and preached all that stuff now, they'd all accept what I say. Because they think it's right. But you can't get out of the sacred geometry and understand Revelation. And if you think you can, you're just fooling yourself. Pull the blinders off. I mean, 2 plus 2 equals 4, and 54 plus 2 or times 2 is 108. You can't get, the 666 and 144,000 and 216. Well, they're all related. Okay. So another way of saying Jesus is also, you call him Yeshua, like a Hebrew pronunciation of how we would say Joshua. Some people insist that they call him Yeshua or Yahushua, okay, in some cases. So, but anyway, this particular pronunciation is 256661. Again, it's got the 666 in there, okay? Multiplied these numbers out, and again, you end up with 2160. Just another reference back to the 216. Okay, now, one thing we drew on the last one but we're going to tie it in when you have all these numbers as a visual up here, because it'll help you tie it all together. We drew a little snowman that represents the Earth, and the little head of the snowman represents the moon here. Okay, and it turns out that the diameter of the moon, so they say, 2,160 miles. So you got to ask yourself, is it really? I mean, yeah. Are you sure? Well, I don't know. I don't have a way to measure it, so if any of you do, by all means, let me know. But we should probably question them a little bit, because this knowledge came out before anybody measured, right? Yeah, because this came out thousands of years ago. Okay, this is ancient knowledge. So the odds of all this coming together exactly like that, and if it is, you should be proclaiming this from the housetops. Why are they keeping it a secret? Well, anyway, so supposedly the moon is 2,160, and the Earth's diameter is 7,920. And add them together, and that's 10,080. And again, that's just our 108 right here, or right here, wherever you want to see it from. Okay. It's just, like I said, in numerology, the rule of Hillel, you can add and subtract zeros, doesn't mean anything, or even one number from it. It doesn't change the meaning. So that's 1,080. And it turns out that in the Greek cipher, Lord Jesus Christ, using the Greek cipher, this one right here, where A is 1, Omega is 800, it's got you can look it up on gematria.com. If you don't believe me, okay, they got the cipher on there for you. Okay, well, you won't be able to post anything in it unless you can copy and paste Greek letters, though. Okay, but if you did and you punched in Lord Jesus Christ and then multiplied out the numbers that were under there, you could come up with 3168. Okay, this is the Greek letters Lord Jesus Christ, which it kind of looks like this. Okay, Greek letters, okay, Kurios Jesus Christos. Okay, well, that is 3168. Say, well, that number's not up here. Well, it kind of is, because if you take it and you divide it by this number, you take the zeros off and stuff, okay, and you end up with pi. Okay, so, and this number is also the circumference of a circle if you drew it like this. Okay, a circle that touches the bottom edge and the top edge of the Earth and Moon, supposing they were connected. So you got this, and this, and this. I mean, come on. This is proof that something's up. Okay, either it's completely real, and they're afraid to announce it because they love darkness rather than light, as the Bible says, and maybe that's why. I don't know. I just don't. I don't know what's going on. The whole thing about the astronomy could be fiction, and they just added these numbers in, and they don't have a clue, and they're lying about the whole thing. I don't know. I still don't think the world's flat. Okay, sorry, Marty. I mean, I think it's provable 500 ways that it's just not. But it doesn't mean that they're not lying about the numbers. The world could still be round, and they're just changing the numbers just enough to, to support this system, to create a construct. Okay. So 216, you can also abbreviate this 216 into 26 if you want. Remember, rule of Hillel, right? And even that is, I just saw my notes and I lost track of it. Where was that note? There it is. Okay, you can take, erase this. We're going to take his 26 here and look at Lord God in English. Of course, still using the septenary cipher, okay? Except for when I wrote Greek letters, we used the Greek cipher, okay? And when I told you the word ritual, that was in one of the 4 other ciphers that come up automatically on gematria.com. But everything else has been the septenary cipher, the one based on the Bible, okay? Well, Lord God, 2254, 724, and added together, 2 plus 2 plus 5 plus 4 plus 7 plus 2 plus 4, 26. Okay, it's sort of another abbreviation of this. You know, after a while, you have to understand that this was constructed this way. It's not an accident. Okay, and I want to have patience with everybody at church, but they're not open to listen. All they did. That's why I, gave that little bit of a, the kind of a serious look in the pentagram right at the beginning, because I know they're not going to get it. But it also makes me kind of think, well, maybe this is why the Masons hide everything, because people just, they're blind, they don't get it. 6 times. I just saw there with my notes talking about 666. 6 times 6 times 6 is another 216. So how many times? So that's why 666 is so often a part of this whole ritual. Okay, let's see. The Tetragrammaton in Hebrew. Now I'm going to change ciphers again. Okay, we'll use the Hebrew cipher, which I do not have a copy of. I think it's also on gematria.com. Pretty sure it is. Okay, but the Hebrew cipher, I don't even exactly know how the numerical values work on it. It's a little different. But if you're not familiar with the term Tetragrammaton, everybody's been to Bible college should know that word. But the Tetragrammaton is the Hebrew 4 letters for Lord, okay, or Jehovah, or Yahweh is translated Lord in the Old Testament, all capital letters. And I never took Hebrew, I took Greek, but it looks something like this: Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. Okay, and it's the equivalent letters there, something like this: Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey, or something like that. I don't know. Close enough. It's just however you think it sounds, right? Well, in the Hebrew cipher, it's 5, 6, 5, and 10. Add them together, 26. So you see that no matter which language, whether we were taking this from ancient Hebrew, which is older than Greek, or whether we were using Greek or whatever, we end up somewhere in this geometric construct. You understand? That's how you know that the people that translated the King James Bible were clearly deeply involved in this knowledge, or they couldn't have made it to where they constructed it to come up with the same numerical values. You understand? King James was a Mason. Okay, it's no big surprise. And when did he die? I think he died at 54. I think Hubbard might have said. I could be wrong about that, but that would have been, if that was how old he was, that would have fit perfectly on here as well. Might have been 59 because Freemasonry equals 59. I think that's what it was. Take slight variations of this 180, 1-800, okay? And even the word Christian works out this way, okay? And look, just like Christ, of course, start with the 365. Supposed to be a Christian 365 days a year, right? 5, 6, 7. So there's the number of Christ. And 511. This is back to the septenary cipher, so don't mean to lose you, but if you add these numbers together, 39. If you multiply the numbers together, it ends up being 94,500. 39 is the number of books in the Old Testament. Remember, Jesus is the book 27 in the New Testament, so 27 and 39. You see that? Come on, you can't make this up. It's not a coincidence, man. Well, 94,500. Well, drop the zeros; they're not important. 945 divided by the Trinity. That equals 315, which I lost track of why that's important in my notes. If I'm not mistaken, I think that is at the center of the zodiac, and it's related to the zodiac sign. But I'm not 100% sure on that one. So, but take the 9 and times the 4 times the 5, you end up with 180, which that's where I was meant to go with this. Okay, and it's just the same thing. It's just a slight derivation of this. That's all it is. Okay. Oh, and another one. Yahweh. Some people insist on calling God Yahweh. Some people are very adamant about these things. If they understood that mathematically they're all the same, maybe they wouldn't make as big of a deal about it. But they don't know that, so they think it matters. Okay. YH or YAHWEH. Okay. Yahweh, or in English we change the Y to a J and call it Jehovah, and that's why Jehovah's Witnesses like to say, which was a very strong Masonic organization. Look at Charlie Taze Russell, that's his name, the founder of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Go look at his tombstone one of these days, okay? The Masonic pyramid. Pretty well steeped in this knowledge. Well, he said that you have to call God Jehovah. Some people say you have to call God Yahweh. Well, it starts with 216. Look familiar? This septenary cipher here. 452. And you multiply 2 times 1 times 6 times 4 times 5 times 2. Multiplied out equals 1,440. Right back down here again, huh? Which is just half of this. You want to hear something about this? Well, not using the septenary cipher, but going back and go back to gematrinator.com, just open up all the ciphers. Now, I never can seem to remember which one, but Bavarian Illuminati sums to 288. Not a coincidence. I mean, why wouldn't it? It's they're the people that are steeped in this knowledge. So of course they're going to use that. And I think you guys can see each one of these. This is 108, 108, 72, 72, but this angle out here is 36, which is just the shorthand of this. All this stuff makes more sense when it's all together like this, doesn't it? I mean, at least in my mind it does. It may just be because of my personality type. I don't know. Last time we was on here, I brought this up. I'm going to bring it up again because it makes more sense when you bring it up in this context. Somebody should make a diagram of this, okay? And maybe I'll make it sometime, but make a picture of this with all this information in one place. Make a lot more sense to a lot more people, in my opinion. I think it will anyway. Well, Moses and Aaron. We're going to go back to old Moses and Aaron again. Moses is 1, 2, 6, 5, 6. Aaron is 1, 1, 5, 2, 1. And see, this is the great thing about once you learn the codes, you can go back and you can. This is something I found on my own, because once you know, you can just go and plug this septenary cipher, especially when you're using the Bible, and it works on so many levels. Okay, you'll discover things all the time for yourself. Okay, because I mean it's just factual. You wouldn't be able to do that if it wasn't the case. Okay, well, multiply these numbers together, and it's 432. Another chance? I think we're past that by now, aren't we? Can't be a coincidence at this point, right? And Aaron, multiply this out, is 10. So that's 4,320. Well, and again, like we said earlier, mirrored and added together, 666. So 666 an evil number? I don't know. Is Moses evil? Is Jesus evil? I mean, at some point you gotta start reconsidering what you've been programmed. Okay, that's not the way it is. Now, if you take a cube, let's see, 432 times 10. Okay, 432 times 10. Moses Aaron is 4,320. Right? You understand that? Get the 10 from Aaron times 432 from Moses, and it equals 4,320. I'm going to have to erase, so try to remember that, okay? Of course, you can always rewind. Can't rewind when you do it live, though, huh? So remember, Moses and Aaron together is 4,320. Well, this is where you get into Kabbalah a little bit. Why Kabbalah? The worship of the cube is important to them, especially. With each cube, you'll agree, 90 degrees at each angle, right? And a cube has 6 sides. Add them all up, and it's 2,160. Get 2 cubes on top of each other, like Moses and Aaron. You multiply them together, right? All those 90 degrees again, 2,160. Put it together, and it's 4,320. Isn't that amazing? And I was sitting here last time after I made the last video, and it dawned on me, we should double out again, since we doubled this. And actually, I think this is where I started getting the idea to just put all this together like this, so you could see it. Because if I would have, it would have been automatically, I'd have figured it out, right? Well, 4,320 plus another 4,320 is just 8,640. There's that, it's just this over again. And it's just the number of seconds in a day and the diameter of the sun. Or 4 cubes, if you will. And this 864, we've already talked about how Jesus Christ was the Son of Righteousness. You remember how I wrote out Kurios, Jesus, Christos? And in the Greek ciphers, numerologically reduced is also 864. There's like 5 million ways to get to any one of these numbers. So don't be so hard-hearted that you just dismiss all this and pretend like it's not real, or it's all of the devil or something, because I mean, it's geometry. If you draw a star correctly, not freehand, those are the angles that are going to come up. You can't change it. It's just a reality. A cube doesn't change. It's not the devil, per se. But people take this kind of knowledge and then they use it to create havoc. And that's why when you start hearing me say things like this, that I'm just reading every single time, and I'll do it again, okay? Because it might make more sense now that you've seen all this in one place. Okay? It might make more sense when I tell you why these numbers are important. All right, now, okay, we saw the 108,000 times. Well, this is why on August 19, 1965, on Launchpad 19, the Gemini 5 rocket was halted at 1:08 p.m. when Gary Ralph Young, who was 22 years old, and Theodore Ballard, who was 17 years old. Remember how we talked about E over here? 2.17. And 22 divided by 7 is pi. Okay? When they walked out and came within 200 feet of the rocket. Okay? Now you see how the codes are, when they write these stories, they're just writing not just gematria, but they're writing sacred geometry. Because we're doing more sacred geometry here than we are gematria. We're doing a little bit of all of it, but gematria is when we pair the letters with the numbers, but that's how gematria comes to how it. That's why gematria is important, is because it is parallel with sacred geometry. Okay. And this is why we see the hammer attack on the London Mosque was at 1:18 p.m. Why the Masjid al-Noor Mosque was at 8011 zip code in New Zealand. This is why the first person killed at the Parkland, Florida shooting, Al-Hadeth Elisa, was 1008. Her name in septenary cipher multiplied. This is how you know they're using this code, man. This is why you have to use septenary along with those other codes, because other ciphers, I should say, because that's the only way you're going to get this 1008, okay, out of her name. And even the local murder on my series, Jalea Davis, her numbers multiplied out with septenary cipher is 1080. This is why there's 108 stitches on a baseball, why they give out 108 footballs at the playoffs, I think it is, for football. It's why the Cubs won the 108th World Series. It's no coincidence. And I think I heard Zach Hubbard say that last time they had been in the playoffs was 54. See how it relates? Before they won. I think that's what he said. I could be mistaken about that. Okay, this is why the coal bombing was at 11:18 p.m. That's what they reported on Wikipedia. My brother argues at that time, and he's probably right, and they're probably wrong. But the point was they did it to code it. That's the whole reason. That's why the Las Vegas shooting, they called the police at 10:08. I mean, are you starting to see the patterns here and why they do what they do? The Columbine shooting ended at 12:08. Not a whole lot of difference just because they throw a 2 in there. You know, it's still got the 1 and the 8, you know. I mean, like here, Alpha and Omega, 1-800. Because at the end of the day, all of these ritual killings are to mock Jesus Christ. That's the whole point of it. Because they're turning this knowledge on its head. That's why when you see a satanic star and the point is down, it's the same geometry. They're just perverting it, you know, to do evil with it. Oh, and another thing. I forgot to mention this, but this is just so cool. I have to mention it. Because, well, Jonathan was talking about the other day, and I mean, I knew it, but it just goes so well into what we're saying. Every 25,920 years, supposedly, this is true, okay? The precession of the equinox. Look it up if you don't understand it. I think it has mostly to do with the whole range that the solar system goes above and below the ecliptic plane of the Milky Way galaxy, okay? And they say that it takes 25,920 years to go through that process. Well, there's 12 signs in the zodiac. Okay, that's why we have 12 disciples. Okay, 12 signs in the zodiac. Divided by 12 is 2,160. Just another 216. Not a coincidence, right? Every 72 years, right here, the equinox precession proceeds 1 degree. You know, that's amazing. I mean, it's just all over the place, okay? But anyway, back to our, I had to add that in there because that was just important. So now you see why they have 108s all over the place and these ritual killings and things? Well, it's also why Key of David is talked about in the Bible. Sums of gematria, not the septenary cipher on this one. Key of David sums to 1 or 216. Definitely something needs to be thrown in there. It's interesting that closest to 216, the nearest prime number is 223. Okay. That's the number that is associated with skull and bones. Okay, and 216 is the diameter of the moon. So when Neil Armstrong stood on the moon and he said, supposedly he stood on the moon, you know, I have no full reason to completely say it didn't happen, but I definitely have enough information that I should be asking questions about it, right? Well, anyway, supposing he did say it, he said, as one small, or he was there, he said, one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. Punch that into the demonstrator, and one of the plain ciphers. This is how you know they use not just the septenary cipher, but they use these they use the ordinal ciphers too. Okay, sums to 223, and because he was on the diameter of the moon, you see, so he made a phrase that summed to 223, the prime closest to the moon. That is part of their skull and bones fraternity, a Masonic fraternity. Okay. And where's my other notes? I'll make sure I go over the 127 again. Of course, you can watch any of my other videos, and we've already gone through the 127s like 1,000 times. But it is important because 127, you know, we said it was E. You know, I showed you all these other ways. Well, that's why Pearl Harbor was on 12-7. That's why the World Trade Centers were called 1, 2, and 7. You know, again, they're mocking Jesus Christ. That's why Paddock, his name in the septenary cipher equals 864. You know? Every single one of these rituals are meant to mock Jesus. It's this knowledge turned on its head to do evil. And if we could understand this, I think maybe we could have an impact on making it stop. If we keep sticking our heads up our butts and pretending like it's not happening, or saying, oh, it's a star, so it must be the devil. Well, no, the star itself is not the devil, okay? It's when they use that star and they pervert it the way that they do, and they use that knowledge for evil. I did turn around and want to say it's 2.718. So E is 2.718. Kind of have my suspicions. 2.718 is E. So if I confused anybody earlier, that makes more sense because, you know, ritual 27, growth over time. The rule of 72 divided by your interest rate tells you how many years it takes for your money to double. So it's our ritual over time. Amazingly, when this just blew my mind. I was watching look, I watched the first part of Marty Lee's video yesterday. I got 4 pages of notes. This is what you should be doing my stuff too. Whether it's whoever you're watching. If you're watching Zach Hubbard or Jacozy or Marty Leeds, take freaking notes, man. This is why, you know, this is why so many of you see this 50 times and you don't get it, and after the 49th time you're just like, oh, I don't understand, I give up. That's because you don't write anything down. So, you know, if you start seeing it all in one place, it makes a lot more sense. Well, he was showing how the word ology, this just blew my mind, okay? Because he was talking about the logos, and ology is in or the word logos, or the word in Greek, is in ology. So anytime you study something, you're studying the word, right? Well, and I won't try to go into everything he said, but because I'm making a different point at the moment. Well, ology created this pattern, and as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, that's the key, because I discovered this pattern, and it blew my mind. Okay, ology. Look at this: 2-2 using a septenary cipher, 7-2. Of course, it's based on this, based on studying. And you're studying the Word. You're studying Jesus Christ. It starts right here. Okay, studying Jesus. You're studying pi, 22 divided by 7. Ritual over time, 72. I mean, 27, and wow, it's just it's so simple. But look at this. Phi also is this pattern right here, because when you take phi, which is 1.618, add them together, 16, numerologically reduce it. 6 plus 1 is 7. And you keep going down, okay, and then you multiply 5 times 2, okay? And that ends up with 3.236, which added together is 14. And put together is 5. Then you count the distance between each one, okay? And you just keep doing this. Multiply it by 2, multiply by 3, multiply by 4. Okay, you keep doing that, and you end up with this pattern: 2, 2, 2, 2, 7. It just keeps going like this. It's basically the same thing. And it just starts over for infinity, okay? At least I assume. I didn't go to infinity, believe it or not. So you study anything, you even just, and I was just punching this in because I was just having a little fun while I was bored on the calculator. And it created the 22222722272, 2272. It's amazing. Blew my mind. Phi is pi, is ritual over time. And it was also, when I was punching those numbers in, that gave me the notion to check to see if, since phi was related to pi, was related to E, if all that probably had something to do with a DNA spiral. And when I looked up the measurements of the DNA spiral, sure enough, it contained elements with phi and pi and e, all of it was in there. Shouldn't be surprised because you grow over time. You know, if you draw a person out and haven't helped my stick figures here. I'll make them a balloon figure. Well, if you have, if you're drawing, you are the golden ratio. You are a Fibonacci spiral, okay? Because if you start at your eye, you can look up better pictures than this online. The first spiral will come underneath your chin. The second one, where you're divided here, and the last one will come right at the very bottom of your feet. I mean, you are built according to the golden ratio, the phi. Okay. So, and if you notice, your from straight perspective, your fingers are round, so you have pi built into it too. Your limbs are round, your legs are round, when you're seen from a direct angle. Absolutely amazing. You are built on it. So, if somebody comes back and proves to me that all these heavenly bodies are made this way, they really do measure this thing and it's not a construct, well, maybe not. I mean, if our bodies and our DNA are built this way, why not the heavenly bodies? Maybe they are. I would love for somebody to prove it to me. I really do want to know how wide the moon is and how you figured it out. And don't just take somebody's word for it. Okay? Show me that you understood the measurements and knew how to get to that. I'll do my best to understand it. You might be smarter than me and I might not follow you, but I'll try. And right now, I was looking for the rest of my 127s, but heaven help us, I got so many notes anymore. But you can definitely go back and just look at where I've already said them 1,000 times on my other videos, all the 127s and so on, how they all come together. Could be in this little stack of papers here. There it is. So we said that the tree of life shooting. There you go. 1027. We did all the 108s a minute ago and how all those were important. All the times related to 108 and zip codes and people's names are 108. Well, the tree of life shooting was on 1027. Right here, right? Pearl Harbor was on 12/7. World Trade Center 1, 2, and 7. From the false flag attack of the Lusitania that got us into World War I to the Korean War was 12,774 days. 127 right there. From July 4th, 1776 to George Bush's New World Order speech, 10 years to the date before 9/11, on 9/11/91. And he gave the speech twice, so if that confuses you and you're ever looking it up, well, he gave the speech before Congress in 90, a year earlier, and or in the White House on 91, both on 9/11. So 9 or 10 years, 9/1, 9/11, 10 years before 9/11, 10 and 11 years. I mean, 9 and 10 years, rather. Well, anyway, so from July 4, 1776 to George Bush's speech, 11,227 days. Pi, 22 divided by 7, right? And 127. There's more of this. From that speech, it's a kind of a key, right? From that speech to the Gulf of Tonkin, that was the false flag that got us into Vietnam. There's always a false flag attack. You ever notice that? They sink the Titanic to get the Federal Reserve, right? Well, they sunk the USS Maine to get us into the Spanish-American War and all that. Right, so New World Order to the Gulf of Tonkin, 27 years, 19 days, 271 again, and 19 like 9/11 chaos. From, okay, the Parkland shooting, the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. And the Jewish cipher was 2222. And in the septenary cipher was 117. 711, that's a whole nother subject. Okay? We get into that sometimes too. But 117 is septenary. Okay, so and 2222. So just another 217. Okay, those are other ciphers you can look at on gematria.com. Open them up and look for it for yourself. The coal, which remember we said was at 1118, right? Well, guess what? It was at 10. It was on the date 1012. You know, so there it is again. And there's 17 killed. I'm missing a 7. Okay, so it was on 1012 and there was 17 killed. So another 1, 2, and 7 there. You say, well, you're reaching for that a little bit. Am I? I mean, 17 years later was the Parkland, Florida shooting. There were 17 killed at both events. Am I really reaching? I don't think so. On 12/17, the UN did a ritual in 1999. The United Nations did a ritual resolution for the elimination of violence against women. So there's a more, it even has the word violence in it when all these 127s are their people doing violence around the world. Scottish Rite of Freemasonry and the full reduction cipher equals 127. Bavarian Illuminati and the reverse full reduction cipher equals 127. In Moses' time, the pillar of fire, which disproves again there that sometimes the Bible is also coded more recently with other ciphers than just the septenary cipher. Of course, what's built into it though is the septenary cipher, but sometimes they use other ciphers to code information. Well, pillar of fire led the children of Israel through the wilderness at night. Pillar of cloud by day, pillar of fire by night. That's 127 in the alphabetical order. And the Hebrew language itself has 12 simple letters and 7 doubles. 1, 2, 7. Its simples are coded with the signs of the zodiac, and the doubles with the 7 heavenly luminaries. All stuff that I have written down and discovered, hopefully. And listen, if this makes sense to you, and maybe I'm not the best person for the job to explain it to people, I don't know. Just do what I can, right? But if you think some other people can learn this, share it with people. You know, I mean, if somebody shared it with you, don't get mad at them. For heaven's sakes, I mean, I didn't know this till, gosh, just in the last few months. Okay, and it's time that we start to learn it so that we can see what's going on in this world, and we can try to make some of this evil stuff happen. If we're close to God ourselves, we understand what it really means. Okay, when people try to use it for wrong, we can do something about it. Okay, we can all rise up and say, we see the evidence, we know exactly what you're doing. And don't think for a second that your president and your congressmen and so forth, at least some of them, and definitely the president, knows about this sort of thing. You know, the president admits freely and openly in one of his books that he had a Kabbalah teacher. You know, we did some Kabbalah right here with the cubes. Okay, he knows this knowledge. So when our president sees a Las Vegas shooting or sees a ritual killing in New Zealand, he knows exactly what's going on. You understand the implications of that, and yet never once does he open his mouth and tell you that it was a planned ritual event. What does that tell you about him? You don't think he's hiding anything, that he's part of something else? look, I voted for him because I didn't know. I didn't understand, I was just part of the matrix to some certain degree, and we all are. We all wake up by degrees. Some ways we might be more awake than others, relatively speaking, in certain areas. But this is a big area where a whole lot of us need to wake up, because this proves beyond any shadow of a doubt that your government knows what's going on. They are using these rituals, and they all have to be in on it for it to work. And sure, there's people that don't know they feel safe enough that have bought into the lies well enough that they can trust them to play their roles, and a lot of people go through it and they don't know. And we don't always know who the pawns are, and who the kings are, and who the queens are. Okay. I would love to know. I like how Derek, the guy that made the gematria calculator, I was listening to him the other day, and he was talking about, like, and I have thought this many times, like, that very likely in CNN that's oh, I can see his face, and all of a sudden I can't think of his name. But the descendant of the Vanderbilts, the gay guy that does the news on CNN, and he probably knows this knowledge real well, whereas maybe some of the other anchors don't. I don't know which ones do and which ones don't, but you can be darn sure the president knows. Okay. I mean, take it back to George Washington, for heaven's sakes, who was born on 2/22, 44 years later. Like, kill or appointed time was July 4th of 1776. They've known this knowledge for a long time. They've constructed everything that's happened by this knowledge and I mean everything. Just recently, it's very provable and obvious that this charade of um, this dossier and this Russian collusion investigation and everything, when Robert Mueller and the word investigation are the exact same in like 10 different ciphers. I mean, exactly the same. It just proves, and you can do this with any story. Okay. Learn these codes, learn the sacred geometry, and you can prove that it's fake, that they're using this for evil. And not just the United States government, whole governments of the world. Look at what the UK is doing. Okay. Somebody asked me recently if Islam and the Quran use this code. Well, I haven't really got into it very far, but I did punch in Muhammad the other day, and his name was 72-144. Okay. Not a mistake. Okay. Not a coincidence. Everything's constructed by this. And so I'm not going to let it just languish and rot in some smoke-filled Masonic lodge room where evil people can get a hold of it and use it to commit mass atrocity, which are just going to multiply over time until something like maybe the Georgia Guidestones happen and they get rid of, gosh, what they want to get down to 500 million people in the entire world, and there's 7 billion now. So they want to just kill 6.5 billion people, or however many people there are on the earth. Just, it's going to keep getting more until some people say that the population will level out at 11 billion because the rate of people die and people are born will equal out. Well, okay, whatever. But so if the population gets to 11 billion, these crazy people on the Georgia Guidestones have their way, they'd kill 10.5 billion people. And you're going to believe them when they give you an environmentalist speech and say they're for the environment? How much environment are they going to destroy? How many animals are they going to destroy? How much of the oceans are they going to have to destroy for that to happen? It's time to quit picking red or blue. It's Time to start getting the knowledge of God and turning it against them. So thanks for watching. So please like if you liked it. Give me some comments if you would, ask questions. And if you'd share it with your friends, that'd be great. And subscribe.